Shalom, this is Yahuda Ben Yisrael, and this is Nation Building 101. This video is about the fact that as Hebrew Israelites we practice science and mathematics. But before I get into the video, I want to thank my subscribers for subscribing to my channel. I also want to let you guys know that I am on Twitter at Old Testament Law, and I've been tweeting out. I started doing it early this morning. So a video about missing women, and about orphans, and about widows. I don't know what made me do that. I like Twitter, and I've been trying to figure out how to use it, really put it to use, other than just tweeting out my videos. So I think I'm gonna do more of that. And if any of you all out there know anybody that does any songs, any poetry, or anything about widows and orphans, for right now, widows, orphans, and anything about missing people amongst our people, then send them to me and I'll tweet them out. But back to what this video is about. This video is about the fact that as Hebrew Israelites, we practice science and mathematics. Now, what I'm going to start with is Leviticus 19, verse 35 through 37. And it says, "Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, in weight, or in measure." Verse 36, "Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them. I am the Lord." Now, obviously, you see measurements here. I mean, it's clear to see. In weight or in measure, we have to have just balances, just weights, just ephah, or just hin. So we obviously have measurements. We also have a hand breadth. We also have a shekel. You know, so we know how to build things. We know how to be engineers. As a matter of fact, as Hebrew Israelites, we don't do any hard labor according to our law. The strangers in the land do our hard labor. So we actually are the engineers. And I know a lot of times, including the Hebrew Israelite community, sometimes it's hard for brothers and sisters to deal with what that means. That means we deal with technology. But that's what that means. And it's kind of strange sometimes because, I mean, we know who our creator is. But I'm going to go to how we deal with science now. And I know a lot of people probably never saw this coming, and this actually covers kind of two things at the same time. It covers the facts that we deal with science, and it also kind of goes into treason within, or how people can commit treason. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start at Exodus 22 and verse 18, and it says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." Now, well, I'm going to start right now by explaining it a little bit, because some of you remember the pictures, or you know, when a witch puts together their concoctions. You know what we call that, and when we see wizards do it too, and we're going to read that in a minute. I know I used to call that chemistry. That's what I learned it to be. It was chemistry. I'm going to start at Deuteronomy 18, and that's going to be 10 through 14. "There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination." Pass through the fire means commit abortion, basically. Use divination means to tell the future by dealing with another god. "Or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch." Verse 11, "Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer." Verse 12, "For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Adonai, and because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out before thee. Verse 13, thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. Verse 14, for these nations which thou shalt possess hearken unto observers of times and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God has not suffered thee so to do. Now, we just went through a whole list of different things, and I'm going to describe some of them to you. An enchanter is a sorcerer or a magician. A witch is someone who practices witchcraft or who deals with familiar spirits. A wizard is pretty much the same as a witch. Basically, as Hebrew Israelites, we can't deal with these things. You know, so we have no choice but to deal with science. That's what we have to call it. Like I said earlier, when I look at what a wizard is using, I see a chemistry set. When I hear about somebody mixing some herbs together and they call it voodoo, I just call it chemistry. And I'm able to do that as a Hebrew Israelite because I use measures. So I'm not going to say that I mix together, you know, one part of something or one part of this and one part of that, and I set a spell over it, and, you know, I said a few words, I pray to another God, and all of a sudden, poof, I now have another substance. As a Hebrew Israelite, I'm gonna write down, I put, you know, a half a hen of this, a quarter hen of that, you know, 1/8 hen of this, and this is what I got out of that reaction was this. You know, if I have to rename it, whatever it is, I'm going to rename it. And as a Hebrew Israelite, I can do that. I can give things names. Sure can. So, again, as Hebrew Israelites, we have to deal with science and mathematics. And I'm going to read a couple of other scriptures too. Leviticus 19:26. It says, you shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall you use enchantment nor observe times. And I'm going to deal with that too. As Hebrew Israelites, when we look up at the stars, we're really supposed to be able to tell the year, the month, the day, and the approximate time just by looking up at the moon and the stars. Because that's what we use it for, to tell the time. That's all we use it for. We don't use it to be able to try to tell our future or to observe times, you know, or to give readings, things of that nature. See, we don't use the stars for that. We use it to be able to tell the actual time, which is what we use the sun, like a sundial, you use it to tell the time. We use it for navigation. We use the stars for navigation, whether that's day, whether that's land, sea, or air. Which, if you know anything about navigation at nighttime, not many people knew how to do that for a very long time. But the ones who did use the stars. You know, but those are the things that we use the stars for. You know, we don't look at the stars as a place for us to go to as Hebrew Israelites. This also goes into how we practice science. You know, it's not something for us to go off into the stars and see what the gods are doing. You know, so we're not going to look at the stars in that way. It's just not a part of our culture. But I'm going to read Leviticus 19:31. And it says, regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. And this goes back into what I was saying about the wizards and about, you know, when I look at them, I see a chemistry set. But Leviticus 20:6-7, it says, and the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits and after wizards to go whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul and will cut him off from among his people. Leviticus 20:27, a man also or woman that hath a familiar spirit that is a wizard shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them. Now I also said that this kind of goes into treason or sedition, which is also part of our system. But there are other scriptures that cover that along with these a little bit better, and I'm going to do that on another video. The fact that we do have what we call treason or sedition. For those of you that don't know what that is, that means like turning against the government. But these kind of go into that when you start dealing with the familiar spirits and then and dealing with the different gods and things of that nature, because of course other nations' beliefs start getting involved in that and they can get out of control. But because of the way our system is set up as Hebrew Israelites, like I said, we have no choice but to call those things what we call science. In scripture they called it power, the power of Yah. Today we call it science, technology, mathematics, the things that as Hebrew Israelites we have no choice but to deal with. So what this also means, and I'm going to get into our start getting into our economic system in other videos, this means that we are inventors. Now if I hadn't already say that, I'm going to elaborate on what that means. That means brothers or sisters can invent things and they can patent those things and make money off of those inventions. It's their invention. There's a reason why the scripture says knowledge and truth you should not sell, but you should buy it. Yeah, I know I just surprised a lot of people with that. Why couldn't they? We have a for-profit economic system. Like I said, this video is about the fact that we practice science and mathematics. I hope you all got something out of this video. I hope you understood the importance of why we deal with the law, statutes, commandments, and judgments as Hebrew Israelites. And you know something? Since I said that, I want to say something else too before I end this video, especially on this subject, and especially when the title comes up. There are probably going to be certain people that look at this and expect certain things out of this when I say science and mathematics, but I kind of went into it a little bit when I started talking about the stars. Excuse me. We don't deal with the stars in that way. You know, we know our job is to deal with this earth and to manage things on this earth. You know, it's really none of our business what's going on with those gods, you know, that other people deal with. You know, that's how we look at things. So when people see this title, don't get too carried away, because it's not what some of y'all are gonna think. It's real basic stuff, but it's like that because it works and it allows us to do what we need to do when it comes to ruling this earth. While everybody else is being a space cadet, we can get the job done down here on this earth. Like I was saying, hopefully brothers and sisters understood the importance of the law, statutes, commandments, and judgments, and why it's important to understand them and know them, and to learn how to be nation builders and not to be so scared and jealous of these other nations who really have nothing on our ways. Shalom.